Hey there guys, we got a quick special one for you here today. Dry firing, not just basics, but how you can apply dry fire principles and practices to up your game out in the range every single time so that when you are dry firing, what you are implanting into the supercomputer is going to pay dividends when you're sending real rounds downrange, be it on the flat range or the two-way range. Here we go. All right, so let's just talk some basic dry fire. Make sure that when you're dry firing, what you are performing is how you would do it for real. If what you are implanting in the dry fire practice is not how you wish to do it for real, why would you do it? Oftentimes I'll hear from folks, well, that's not the way I do it in a real fight or on the range. Well, why are you practicing it then? Every time you practice something, we tell our students, you are implanting. Every time you touch your gun, you are ingraining something, learning something, right or wrong. So ensure as you're dry firing that what you're doing is how you want to perform. So, some dry fire basics. This is a bone stock Glock 17 Gen 5. The only thing on it that's got any upgrade is some beautiful Ameriglow sights. So when we're dry firing, some basics. We gotta always have a plan, right? So my plan every time I'm dry firing is to, number one, reinforce the fundamental essential skills. What are those? If you're coming out of a holster, you have to make sure that you have your good master grip. So when I draw and I come out of the holster, I'm gonna do it as if it was for real. I'm not gonna come out of the holster all willy-nilly and then practice. Every time I come out of that holster, every time within reason, there are things that dictate deviance from that. I'm going to practice that good draw. So what else am I going to practice? You see, I'm not holding this gun weakly. I've got a good grip as I've drawn this weapon. So if I'm going to press out, I'm doing it just as if I was shooting. So coming out of the holster, good grip and press. My finger comes to the trigger as my eyes find the sights, and I press straight back to the rear. So dry fire 101 again. As I am pressing, what am I looking for? I'm looking for no movement in the sights. Something we tell all of our students. Anybody that takes one of our courses can recite this as soon as the class is done. What has to happen to get a hit? This might sound like some really basic stuff, but once this drives home for you, it's gonna make some sense as to why you can strip out a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. In order to get a hit, your sights need to be aligned on whatever the target is you want to hit as you press the trigger. As you press the trigger, if your trigger press causes the sights to become misaligned, either to over gripping or adjusting your grip through the trigger press, the sights are gonna move and you're not gonna hit, right? So that one of those basics of dry fire should be working to press the trigger straight to the rear without moving the sights. I've explained this in other videos, but if you take your hands, put them in front of you, and just move your index fingers, guys, your trigger fingers, you'll see these other fingers want to follow along. It's called an interdigit limb response. Super scientific. But as you do that, you can feel all these other tendons in your arms moving. What you're trying to do is isolate. If I squeeze these fingers, so watch the muzzle, if I squeeze just these fingers, watch where the muzzle goes. See that? So for a right-hand shooter, those rounds are gonna go low left. For a left-hand shooter, I'm gonna squeeze these fingers. See that? So for a left-hand shooter, they're gonna go low right. A lot of this stuff is pretty well known by people that shoot, but I guess if you're watching this, you're looking to figure out some tips. If you have an issue where you're shooting low left, as you are dry firing, pay attention to what's happening with your fingers. Pay attention to if any of that tightening's happening. How's the grip in your other hand? Are you maintaining good pressure? Are you making sure that you are on the sights? Are you seeing the sights clearly? Are you maintaining a good grip throughout the firing process? Let's talk training scars. That's a relatively new term. Some training scars are good. It means that something that you've trained over and over is imprinted. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. Here's what I consider to be a bad one. So check this out. I'm dry fire practicing. Watch. So I'm working my trigger, right? We've probably all done this. Here's what's happening though. I am imprinting in my brain to press the trigger and cycle the slide. Well, I'd never do that for real, says you or me. I've done it for real. I have dry fired over the course of a couple days and then gone to the range, drawn, fired, and dumped a live round to the deck, subconsciously, because I had done it 2,000 times over the course of a few days. My subconscious delivered exactly what I asked of it. So enter the dry fire mag. Super cool tool. This is one of those ingenious devices where you're like, why didn't I think of that? Right now, this tool is only made for the Glock, the Smith & Wesson M&P, and soon to be the XD model pistols. I got one out of the box here. This is what it looks like. So this will work in the 19, the 17. If it's in a 19 versus the 17 that I have here, it'll just hang out a little longer. It's the exact same size as a 17 mag. It's got an OEM Glock base plate on it. To install this, safety check, gun's empty. You want the trigger in the forward position. And the way this sucker works, see that? The trigger bar in the Glock, which is what connects the trigger mechanism and releases the striker, rides on this little guy. You get an audible click. You can adjust the tension. What you're gonna do, insert, squeeze the trigger. Now check this out. Pretty cool. Does it feel exactly like a stock Glock trigger? No, but that's okay. And the reason that it's okay, 2 points I'm gonna make on that. Some of the best shooters in the world that I know, when they dry fire without a tool like this is what they do. Check it out. Shot breaks. Now I'm gonna come over here so you can see me. And if they're gonna continue shooting at various targets, practicing, they just squeeze on a dead trigger because they've trained their trigger finger to apply good rearward pressure, which is what we're driving for in the dry fire practice. They've worked that out. So now they're seeing sights, they're lining up the sights in their brain with hit, 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 wherever the targets are that they're shooting in their practice. What this thing does for you is it allows you to work those good, smooth, straight to the rear presses, and it allows you to transfer, target, target, target. You could work a drill like a bill drill. Ready? Beep, draw. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a bill drill. 6 shots on an A-zone target at 7 yards from the holster. You could work on a El Presidente. That's 2 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits, reload, 2 hits, 2 hits, 2 hits. You could do just that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, reload, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I kind of screwed that up a little bit, but you got the point. In anything that you're trying to do through your dry fire, you now have the ability to get a clean trigger press. Now, the interesting thing is none of the striker is moving. All of the movement is happening in the mechanism itself and your trigger. So none of the striker is even moving. So that thing's not slamming forward. You're not gonna wear parts out. It's cool. It is a cool tool. It makes the gun basically inoperable. And what's really cool is this company is working with another outfit right now to make this work with a laser mechanism so that you can use this in simulation. You can use this shooting at various types of training apps that use red dot or green dot lasers. So, when you're dry firing, is this the end-all be-all tool that you must have to learn? No. Does it make it a lot easier, cooler, give you a safe and effective way to train where you're not putting extra wear and tear on your gun? Yes. One more point. There are guys that dry fire high volumes that do wear parts out on their gun. There's guys I know that dry fire, they have dry fire guns and then they have competition guns or carry guns because they dry fire so much. Very cool tool. makes your training more interesting, adds some depth where you can really hone in on certain things without having to think about constantly recycling your slide. Guys, check them out, dryfiremag.com. I have one in my range bag everywhere I go, every class we go to, I bring one with, and it's not just because I'm trying to sell them to people, because I'm not. It's because I believe in the product, and I think that if you have one and you get the chance to use it, you'll understand all of the benefits that come with it. dryfiremag.com. Guys, I appreciate that you took the time to check this video out. A takeaway from me to you for dry fire practice: ensure that you are immersing your imagination in the task. Perform the dry fire just as you would like to perform out in the real world with live ammunition. That is exactly what dry fire is. You are rehearsing for the reality. Don't do it one way in dry fire and say, well, I would do it different out there in the world. Little takeaway I want to also add: a lot of people say, well, without recoil, you're not really learning anything. The best and greatest shooters in the world often dry fire 100 or more times dry trigger presses to one live round. What does that tell you? Do what the greats do, emulate them, follow what they do. Hope to see you guys again soon. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do. Like these videos, send us some comments if you guys got questions, or if you think that there's a topic that we could cover or there's something we could do better, let us know. This is Mickey with CarryTrainer.com, Drew the editor behind the lens. Be well.